what's been going on this whole past month, man?
Oh man, that was the craziest project of my entire life, putting together everything that we did for My Cause My Cleats last month. We did almost the entire roster for both the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've worked with both of these teams in the past, but we did even more of their players and coaches this year. All in all, we did probably close to 100 pairs of cleats last month. Definitely the most that we've ever done in that short of a time span. It was absolutely crazy. It was 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. every single day. All right, so today we have basically received almost all of the cleats that we're going to be working on. We have Daniel getting started on the prepping. We have already started to organize, label them, try to keep everything in somewhat of an order because everything is going to start to get pretty hectic. So anytime I'm working on a huge project like this, I like to try to do things in batches if ever possible. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead, start to tape off as many as possible. It looks like we're working with probably 20 to 30 different cleat models, so a lot of the taping process is going to be a little bit different, but now I'm going to just go ahead, get this started. Really excited to get going on this project.
So in this huge, crazy event of My Cause My Cleats, how do you find balance in this whole workload?
Whew, yeah, so I think for a project like this, a month-long project, balance completely goes out the window. I mean, we are talking about 20-hour work days for nearly a month straight, so there's very little family time, there's very little time for anything else. It was crazy, as you know, trying to put together a merch drop, keeping up with all of our stencil sales. We have done one video a week here on YouTube for the entire year of 2020. I think we are a few videos away from completing that challenge. So just keeping up with also all of our weekly regulars, a lot of guys who we have painted cleats for every single week for multiple years now, that getting thrown into where that sort of splits up, being able to just focus on the larger campaign of My Cause My Cleats, getting those weekly texts late in the week that, hey, I need something for Sunday. So it was tough. Trying to just manage all of that, but I've realized, although I would love to spend a week with every single individual pair, that's just not possible. And I've learned the only way to get through a project like this is to just be as efficient as possible. So what I have right in front of me is all of the Chicago Bears cleats. I've gotten them up to the point where I have basically all of the gradients, base coats, and stencils done on every pair. Almost every single one of these is ready for the organization or the charity's logo, but I think the most important thing is that I like to think of this as one really big project rather than 30 separate pairs. I think in the past it was important for me to almost think of things as individual pairs and cross things off a list, physically crossing something off, feeling like you accomplished something. But I like to think of this as one big project so I can really start to turn it into almost like an assembly line. Having everything done efficiently is huge for something like this. So starting off, all the prep, all of the taping, having all of those materials right in front of you, and then bringing out all of your airbrush paint so you're ready to do all of your really simple base coats. Having all of those colors right out in front of you at one time. Then moving into all of your gradients, like a pair like this, we have yellow to orange to red to black, and then moving into all of your different stencils that I like to do. It's just really important to making sure that you can get things done in a timely manner, rather than doing one pair at a time, pulling all of your stencils back out, pulling all of your tape back out, pulling all of your airbrush paints back out. It's really important to be as efficient as possible when you have a really big project like this and you need to get it done in a timely manner. It's just about doing as much at the same time as you possibly can. So now I'm almost ready to the point where I'm gonna sit down, gather all of the organizations or charity logos and have those all cut out on the different size stencils and whatnot. And that's just what it's all about, getting something like this done. It has to be done super efficiently. Otherwise, you would never be able to get 30 pairs done without spending, 1 to 2 days on every single pair. This is how you can cut down that time dramatically.
Do you prefer when people give you a lot of design input, or do you prefer full creative freedom?
For the most part, I would almost always say full creative freedom, but I think for a project like this, when there's so many to do in such a short period of time, I think that there's almost sometimes an advantage when they're giving you a little bit more design input and it's just your job to bring their vision to life. And it's kind of interesting how it worked out that basically all of the Jaguars told me exactly what they wanted, and I sort of had a feel for the design direction. But whereas almost all of the Bears players told me to go crazy, do whatever I wanted. And that's also very cool that they have enough trust in me. I've worked with a lot of these players for multiple years now, and they trust in me enough to create something cool for them, something unique, something that they'll be proud to wear. But it definitely presents a lot more challenges of you sort of maybe second guessing yourself, trying to wonder, should I be creating something extremely loud for this player, or do I want to go potentially the more subtle route, trying to get to know the players a little bit more? Do they want to have the loudest cleats on the field, or are they a little more subtle? Every guy is going to be a little different, so you got to do a little bit of digging for that also. So this is a great question that we just got asked. Somebody was wondering, how do we even go about coming up with all the various designs for the various organizations and whatnot? And I think it's pretty cool that, for example, the Jaguars this year sent an individual note inside each box, so it has the player's name, the organization they're going to be representing, and then some even give a little bit of design direction. Here it says cleat colors, red, white, and black. They want the red equality logo. Heel of the cleat is where they want the logo, so it's pretty cool when you're given a little bit more of a direction to go. You know where to take the design, whereas with the Bears, actually all I was given was the individual organization they're going to be representing. So I have no idea what I'm doing on any of those cleats. I really can't plan it out until I start to talk with some of them. We're going to be doing a Zoom meeting with any of the players who want to hop on and give me any type of design input. And even with the virtual meetings, essentially all the Bears players told me it was okay to do whatever I wanted to come up with. And at the same time, that's definitely a great feeling, knowing that I've worked with a lot of these players in the past and they trust me to come up with something that they'll definitely be proud to rock. So that's definitely a cool feeling, but I also have some big shoes to fill with that also. So earlier today, I had my Zoom meeting with a lot of the Bears players and coaches. Got to discuss all of their various designs and see if they wanted to give me any input. For the most part, they all just sort of said you're able to do whatever you want, which is obviously very cool that they have that type of faith in me, but it also makes me sort of have to spend more time planning it out, making sure that I'm able to create something unique enough for them that's going to not only stand out amongst the rest of their teammates, but just sort of, I don't want to be reiterating old designs that I've done. I want to challenge myself and create something new. So I make sure to spend a lot of time in just the planning phase, and really all I need to accomplish here is really just planning out the base of the cleat, whether it be sort of how I want to do a gradient, or just the base of the cleat, or sort of what color is going to work best as the base, knowing the color of the charity or the organization, or various things like that. And I think that this is really important because on a project like this, at some point you really kind of can't look back. You just need to move forward. So it's really about having a good blueprint for you to follow. This way, you're not going to be second guessing yourself. You've already put in the time to make sure that you're confident with the design. And sometimes this is all I need, just making sure I have a map like this to follow. I know what bases I'm going to be doing. I know what gradients I'm going to be doing on all of the individual cleats. I've already done it for the Bears, already did another one for the Jaguars, and now it's time for the fun part. Starting off tomorrow, once I bang out a couple more of these, it's time to go ahead and dive into the painting.
So I can only imagine after painting 100 or so cleats, you probably in the middle would feel like a machine, and you don't feel like much of an artist. Do you feel that at all, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think that as far as when you most feel like an artist for a project like this, to me is going to be in that pre-planning phase, making sure that you really feel you're giving every individual player, every individual client the same amount of attention as everyone else. And when you're doing this many, spending a lot of your time in that planning phase to make sure that all of the designs really live up to your standards and are unique enough just amongst the cleats that you have in general, let alone standing out from all of the other talented artists that are going to be participating in a campaign like this. So just making sure that you really have a great blueprint to follow, because at some point you definitely do have to go into that straight up robot mode to where there's nothing else to do but to crank all of these out. But even though in the middle of all this, I promise you every single artist participating in this campaign feels totally lost and is questioning every decision they made, wondering if all of these pairs live up to their standards. Believe me, I've talked to many of them. Once you actually are able to start to lace them up, box them up, send them out, have the teams and the players start to receive them, start to see the digital media teams start to post them across the various social medias for the teams, start to see the players start to post about them, unbox them. Nothing can beat that. It is so cool to finally start to see all of your labor pay off and start to see how excited they are. To have them actually receive your artwork and show it off, there is just no feeling like that.
So I think this would probably be a hard one to pick, but from picking between talking to the players, getting to design with some of them, maybe meeting some of your favorite athletes over the past 5 years, what has been like the best experience or just the best feeling from this whole event?
I think to me, probably the coolest part is actually seeing the work on the field, actually seeing your artwork potentially be televised and the announcers talk about it and whatnot. And to me, what I know, no feeling can top what I know this means to somebody like my dad, who raised me as the sports fan I am. I'm a genuine sports fan, love watching football. My dad watches football the entire day on Sunday from morning to night, and just trying to make him proud and being able to let him experience this and show him off all of this cool work and have him call me every single time he says, hey, they just zoomed in on your cleats. Hey, this player just scored wearing your cleats. My dad learning Instagram just so he can follow all the different sports teams and see what they're posting about the cleats, follow all the players and see them unbox the cleats. I mean, that really means the world to me, and ultimately one day being able to show this off to Dexter. How cool is that? That one day when he's old enough, he'll be able to see, hey, check it out, guy. I was able to have some of my work featured on an NFL field. Knowing what that means to them is far and away just the most impactful thing to me. So we have a lot of people reach out and ask where they can see all of these cleats that we made and all of the other artists did. A lot of the individual team websites like chicagobears.com do a great job of cataloging all the players and cleats that are going to be participating. NFL.com, I believe, is where all of the auctions take place. We tried to capture as many as we could, but just due to the craziness of the few weeks leading up to getting them sent out at crazy deadlines and whatnot, we weren't able to capture necessarily every single cleat that we did. But let's go ahead and show you a little reel of a lot of the ones that we did.
First started My Cause My Cleats, you had about 10 players. 4 years later, you're about 2 teams in, maybe still a couple more players on the side. is it still fun? Does it feel like work to you? Just all that?
Yeah, you know, what's really funny about that is the answer is that it's absolutely still fun. We were probably going to go off on a little bit of a different direction to answer this question, but sometimes timing in life works out in really funny ways. So while we were actually filming this video, we got a phone call from another customizer, and let's just go ahead and play some clips, because there's just no way that we couldn't include something like this in the video. Window. I mean, this was basically a month straight of 20-hour work days, and Michigan. Didn't you just get called from Michigan?
Minnesota? Is it
Minnesota.
I think it
MI.
was Michigan. Oh, no, Minnesota.
Hello, this is Dylan.
Like, I know, like, all my broke high school friends can't afford
Sure.
much more than, like, $15 an hour.
Sure.
But I still want to do stuff for them.
Yeah.
But then as I'm moving into, like, professional athletes, I guess,
Yeah.
like you just said, like, that 15 versus, like, $40 an hour doesn't make too much of a difference for them.
Right.
But,
No, I mean, you could, but it's more just sort of what do you value your time as, you know what I mean? So, yeah, if you could charge these NBA and NFL guys a lot, sure, but then what happens when Joe Schmo from around the block, who's on the football team at your school, wants a pair?
I'm excited. It's cool to think for me, like I watch all your videos and, like, get the newsletter, and it's like, you're, like, way up there, and I'm, like, just a year in.
Don't worry, I was just a year in at 1.2, man.
I was just finished watching the video about the stencils, and I saw, like, 25 pairs from My Cause My Cleats.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I get, like, 2 or 3 people who are probably on the bench on NFL teams.
Hey, man, they're still on the field. They're still on the field. And don't worry, they still get paid good at the end of the bench. The price, the value, all of that will come. Don't sweat over 15 versus 20 or 15 versus 40. All of it will come.
You're like the name of the game, basically. And it's super helpful for someone like me to be able to talk to someone who's got 10 years experience. And that's just really cool. Like, there's no other type of community, like, and whatever
For
that
sure.
has that.
No, I just want to be
Doing
I just want to be the resource that, believe me, I wish I had a resource like this when I was in your shoes, wondering, you know, what could have been my next move, and probably saved me some mistakes and money and whatnot. So I'm glad to try to help, man. Yep, good luck, buddy. Let me know how it goes. Take care, man. Bye-bye. So to me, that right there essentially sums up why this is definitely still fun to me. I mean, that phone call right there almost reminds me of a younger me. Somebody starting out who wants to make a name for themselves in this industry. And I know what that's like to want this huge workload. And to me, it's incredible to hopefully be this resource, this place you can come to, this mentor essentially, on how you can get there and what it's going to take. And to me, how could this ever get boring to me when I know there's so many people who would love to be in these shoes of working with this many athletes and this many teams. It's so cool to be doing that. That's a dream come true, literally. And I know there's so many people who would love to trade places with me, or would love to work up to this position, who would love to take my position. So I can't be content. I need to continue to innovate and push the envelope and hopefully pave the way for you guys. And like I always say, be the resource that I wish I had when I was just starting out. But I just want to continue to prove to you guys that anything is possible. You can do it. It's possible. I was just starting out at 1.2. You just need to continue to push the envelope, continue to try new things, really get out there and just create.